Hey, this is Tina from Tina's Love of Crochet. Okay, so let's get started. I am using this squish yarn. It's 10 ply, but it's quite a thin 10 ply. It's kind of more like an 8 ply, but the hook size recommended is 5mm, so I'm going to use a 4mm hook size for that, just to make it a bit of a tighter stitch. Okay, so we're starting with the brown, or beige, or whatever base color you want for under the turtle. So I'm starting with this kind of browny color, and we're doing a magic ring. So this is the way I do it: under, over, out, straighten the hook up, and chain 1, and that's it. So you want to make sure you're working over your tail to close it in. Okay, now you want to start with another, probably one more chain. So we're going to do 10 double crochets into the ring. Okay. Alright, so I'm not counting the chain as a stitch, so I've only done that one extra one. So we want to do 10 double crochets. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, pull the tail to close the ring. And join with a slip stitch to the top of the first stitch. So not in the chain, top of the first double crochet. I'm going to put my tail over the top just so I can lock it in for the next round. Okay, pull that tail tight, close the hole there. Alright, now I'm going to sew my tail in as we go for the next round. Okay, so start with a chain 2, which we're not counting as a stitch, so we're going to put 2 double crochets in every stitch. And, oh, that split a bit, that's going to annoy me. Yes, if you've done circles, this will be pretty easy. It's just one big circle. You'll know the pattern. So 2 double crochets in every stitch, and I am using US terminology if you haven't worked that out yet. So trebles in UK. Have 20 by the end of this round. So increasing in every stitch. Give the tail a little bit of a tug just to flatten it out, because sometimes it gets gathered in there. Between there, yep. The tail back on top. Don't tug it too hard because your work will cave in. Okay, be careful not to work into that slip stitch, because sometimes they look like stitches. But if you count, you'll have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Beautiful. Slip stitch to the first double crochet to join. Okay, next row, chain 2. And we're putting 2 double crochets in the first stitch, 1 in the next, 2 in the next, 1 in the next, 2, 1. I'll give you a little hint. The way I count in my head when I'm doing circles, because it increases every row. This one I'm going to count to 3 every time. So you're going to go, the increase is 1 and 2, and the 1 on its own, 3. So once I've counted to 3, I know I've got to start again. 1 and 2 and 3. So 1, 2, go together, and 3 is on its own. 1, 2, same stitch, 3 on its own. 1, 2, 3 on its own. There, 1 and 2 in the same stitch, 3 on its own. 1, 2, and 3 on its own. And if you landed on the single number, you know you're on the right track. Okay, slip stitch to join, chain 2. And we're going to increase our count by 1. So we're going 1 and 2 in the same stitch, which is the first stitch, which is where you slip stitched into. Okay, so not the next one. Always follow your chain to the bottom and do your first stitches into there. So 2, and then we're going 3 and 4. So 3 and 4 are in separate stitches. So you can see the pattern. 1, 2 are together in the same stitch, that's your increase. 3 and 4 on their own. 3 in the next, 4 in the next. So 1, 2, 3 on its own, 4 on its own. Okay, you can get the pattern by now. I'll make my way round and see you at the other end. Okay, so I'm just at the end doing 3 and 4. Join with a slip stitch, chain 2. Now if you hate those chains and you don't like the look of them, you can always do a standing double crochet there instead. which is like this. So you pull up a big loop and you use that to start your double crochet. So you wrap around and you've got to hold on to it with your finger, otherwise it won't work at all. And then just complete your stitch. Pull out your loop, pull through 2, and I'm still holding on to it right to the very end. Pull through 2. Okay, so that's 1. Now, as you can probably guess, the next row is going up by 1, so we're going to count to 5. So that was 1 and 2 in the same stitch. 1, 2, and then 3, 4, and 5 go on their own. 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it should be coming out nice and flat. All right, so 1, 2 in the same stitch, 3 in the next, 4 in the next, and 5 in the next. So 1, 2, same stitch, 3, 4, 5. I'll see you at the end. Okay, so I've just landed on number 5 when I'm counting, which is always a good sign. So you've done 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Slip stitch to join. Okay, I'll just go back to chain 2 and starting again, but we are now going to count to 6. So 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and then 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1 and 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we got the pattern, we got the gist of this. I'm going to make my way around, and I'm going to keep doing the rows in that fashion until I get the size of the underside of the turtle, the mummy turtle, so the big one. So, you know, it could be just sort of under dinner plate size, but I'll let you know how many rounds I do once I finish and I'm happy with it. But then you can do whatever size rounds you want. If you are working with like 8-ply yarn and maybe a 3 hook or a 3.5 hook, you might need more rounds, so just go to the size that you want. There's no real, you know, recipe. Okay, so yeah, I'll see you when it's grown quite a bit. Okay, so I've just finished. I'm happy with that size, and I have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rows, and that measures up to, oh, pretty much bang on 20 centimeters. Beautiful. And yeah, so you can go as big or small as you like. Yeah, so that's 9 rows, 20 centimeters. And you can fasten that one off now. So just chain 1. And we don't need to leave a long tail for sewing because we're going to sew with the top part, the rest from the top part. So don't worry about that. We can weave that in, and we are ready to start the top, which is going to be a little bit more interesting. Okay, so we are basically starting the top part exactly the same. So magic ring, chain one more, 10 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pull the tail, join with a slip stitch, so it's all exactly the same. And we do one more row before introducing the next colour. So just increase in every stitch for this. Whoops, so I want to tie my tail in. Yeah, increase in every stitch. So 2 double crochets in every stitch. Back at the end. Okay, so now we are going to introduce the green in. You can find the end of it. Where are you? Okay. Alright, so this is gonna form the pattern on the top of the shell. Alright, so I'm just going to loop it through like that. So slip stitch it through. Now you want to pull the brown tight, and we're not going to cut it off because we're going to bring it up each round and use it. All right, so I'm going to sew this tail in as I go. So what we want to do is chain 1 and half double crochet into the first stitch. So I'm just sewing the green tail in, not the brown one's been sewn in, but this one we are carrying up to use later, our working yarn. So another half double crochet in the next stitch. So 2 in a row. Okay, now this is where it gets a bit fiddly. What we want to do is treble, so yarn over twice. And we want to find the first kind of stitch down in the first row. So skipping this last row here of brown, we're going to go down to the first row and front post treble on that stitch just underneath. So the treble comes all the way back to the top, and then you are going to put another 2 half doubles in the next 2 stitches. So we're not jumping anything. We are going to put half double in there and then 1 in the next stitch. Now we are going to do another front post treble back in that same stitch, so you want to use it twice. So there's 2 front post trebles coming out of the same post. Okay, like that. Then we're doing another 2 half double crochets in a row, so the next 2 consecutive stitches. Okay, now we're doing a treble. We're going to skip 1 and we're going to go in the next one. So we've used this one, skip the next one, go in the next one. Front post treble, drag it up to the top and find the next 2 stitches, half double, and front post treble around the same post as the last one. 2 half doubles. Oops. Okay, can you see how that's coming out there? All right, front post treble, so we're going to skip this one, go in the next post. Two half doubles. Front post treble around the same. So just try and get in on top of that last one. Two more half doubles. Okay, skip a post around the next one. Nope. Two half doubles. Same post. Two half doubles. Okay, I'm going to drop that tail now. Let it go. And we've got one more post down the bottom to do. So skip this one into this one. Two more half doubles, and they're the last lot that will fit in. Finish off with the second treble, front post treble. And slip stitch to the first half double to join. Okay. So now we are going to bring up the brown and just loop it through. Pull the green down tight so it disappears. Okay, chain one and half double crochet, actually sorry, double chain two, sorry, which does not count as a stitch. So chain two, we're not counting that as a stitch, so what we're going to do is double crochet in that same spot that we slip stitched. And we're going to put two in there. So an increase. And then just one in the next two stitches. That was just one and one. Next one has two. Increase in this stitch, two double crochets, and then one in the next two stitches. So one, one, two in the next one, back in there, and one and one. And repeat around. So 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1. So increase 1, 1. Okay, all the way around. Alright, so I'm finishing on 1 and 1. Now slip stitch to the top of the first double crochet, so not your two chains, first double crochet up the top there, So now we're going to bring back the green, so leave the brown, bring up the green, pull down on the brown so the loop disappears. That's nice and tight. Okay, chain 1. So this is the row that's going to be trebles and half doubles around. And so where we're putting them, so you want to now aim for, see how you've got the V there. What we're going to do now is join these two instead. So we're going to put a half double in the first stitch, so where you slip stitched, and then one in the next stitch. So what we want to do now is join these two together. So we're doing a treble crochet 2 together basically. So our half doubles have landed kind of in the middle there. So we want to do, yeah, half treble 2 together around these two. Okay, so we yarn over twice, front post of course, so front post, pull through 2, pull through 2, yarn over twice again, go around the next one, through 2, then through all 3. Okay, so we've got that, and we want to put our, now we're going to put 4 half double crochets in a row, and we're not skipping anything, so go directly at the back, the next available stitch, and put 4 half double crochets in a row. 3, 4. Okay, so then we kind of land where our point is going to be for our next 2 together, is kind of in the middle of that V, and that's where you want to land. So treble 2 together. So this one is, the post is already being used, so use it again. That's where your first one goes. Leave 2 on the hook, yarn over twice, go to the next one. Pull through all 3. Okay, so now we've got the 4 half doubles in a row to do, so remember just the next one that's available at the back there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so our next 2 together are going to be this one and this one. So it's always like the last one you used and the next one. Whoops, I didn't, yes I did yarn over twice, sorry, yarn over twice. Front post treble, don't finish it, yarn over twice. Front post, pull through 2, pull through 2, then pull through all 3. Okay, 4 in a row. Half double, 1, 2, 3, 4. Front post treble 2 together. Four half doubles. Front post treble 2 together. Four half doubles. Okay, do that all the way around. Okay, I'm just almost at the end there, just doing my last treble 2 together. Oh, this yarn splits, let's try that one again. And the last 2 half doubles, so because we started with 2 on this side, we're ending with 2 at the end. Slip stitch to the first one to join, and ready to bring up the brown. So drop the green, loop in the brown, tighten the green, ready for the next round. So this is what we have so far. Okay, the next row is very basic. Chain 2 to start. Pull that green right down. Okay, increase in the first, so 2 in the first stitch. And that's where we slip stitch, so don't jump anything. So remember, our chain 2 does not count as a stitch. And then we're just going to do 1 in the next 3. So it's going to be increase, then 1, 2, 3 in a row. 3 double crochets. Increase in the next, so 2 in the next, 1, 2, and 3 on their own. 1, 2, and 3. Simple all the way around. Okay, so I'm just at the end, and I've just done my 1, 2, 3, and the stitch count is obviously off, so and it will be because the rows underneath aren't following a particular pattern. So I'm still going to continue with 2 in this one, and then I'm just finishing off with 1 on its own. So that's okay. Alright, so we're going to slip stitch into the first double crochet, okay, not the chain, into here. And you guessed it, bring up the green. Pull down the brown, ready for the next round. So as you can see, where we finished is pretty much in the middle of these two. So we're going to start a little bit different. So what we're going to do is just do 1 half double crochet in the first spot. Did I chain 1? No, I didn't. Come back. Chain 1. Bring that brown down. Okay. Half double in the first stitch. Alright, now from here, start with the 2 front post treble 2 together. It's a mouthful. Alright, and we're going to go around this one and this one. Okay, so yarn over twice. And when you do them, like, just stretch them right up, yeah? You need to extend because they're going to get bigger each time. And then around this one. So nice and loose so they can come up. Okay, so now we're continuing on with half doubles at the back there. And we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now 6 takes us to the middle. Okay, so it changed from the last round. I needed 6 to get us over to this point here. So now we can do our front post treble 2 together. Nice and loosely so they drag up. Okay, find the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 is good. Yep. All right, so do that all the way around. So we're doing the front post treble 2 together around these 2, and then 6 half doubles in a row. Okay, now I noticed some of when I finished doing 6, it wasn't quite falling in the center. So I did my 2 together, and then instead of going in the next one to do the half double crochet, I ended up skipping one. And so yeah, skipped one at the back. Where was it? I did it there, and there, there, there. So it wasn't all the way. Yeah, just a couple of spots. I did skip at the back just so it could line up in the center, but then I still had the same 6 half double crochet gap. So that's, yeah, this is called fudging it, so nothing wrong with that. And then I've ended up here, so I did go in the next stitch for this last one. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now 5 is over here. This was number 5, the first one we put in, but I'm missing number 6, so I'm just going to add it in anyway. And I'm going to put it in where the slip stitch is, so that we still have the same gap, so it looks kind of, you know, symmetrical. And slip stitch to the first, and bring up the brown. Chain 2, and so this row is just going to be increase and then 4 in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4. Increase, then 4. Easy. So 2 in the first one. And then 4 in a row on their own. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Okay, so I've finished up here, and I've actually landed on 1, 2, 3, 4, which is quite a fluke. Slip stitching to the first double, usual. Okay, change, bring up the green, chain 1, actually chain 2, no, chain 1, pull down the brown, it disappears. Okay, now have a look where we are. We're kind of not in any good position, so we're not in the middle of these 2. We want to try and make our way over here, so what we're going to do is just half double, however many it takes to get to the center. Okay, so we're going in the first one. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I reckon 6, because on this side we can do 2 more to be centered here. So when we come back around, we're going to add 2 more on this side, so that'll be 7 and 8. So that makes sense. If we've done 4, then 6, now 8. Okay, so let's stick with 8 for now. Now, if it seems like it keeps dragging over this side a little bit, skip 1 at the back. So let's try it. Let's do the front post trebles 2 together. Now these are getting bigger, so we want to stretch them right out. So when you pull the loop through, pull it right up. Okay, so I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It lands there, so that's a bit too far over to the right. So I'm going to skip 1. Skip 1 at the back there, and we're going to go 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, that's better. Somewhere in the vicinity. Okay, so you want to judge each round where you are going to start. It's not necessarily the same thing every time. Whoops, didn't leave 2 on the hook. Okay, 2 on the hook. Next one. Okay, so we're going to skip that one at the back, miss one, and do 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, beautiful. Okay, so 8's good. Continue around, meet you at the other end. So I've just noticed with this one that after doing 8, I've landed too far over this way. So on this particular one, I'm not going to skip one. I'm just going to go straight in to the next stitch and do the 8 there. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's a bit better. Okay, meet you back at the end. Okay, so I've just finished that last treble 2 together, and I only have the 2 stitches left, which is absolutely amazing for the stitch count, because remember I said I did 6 on one side, needed 2 on the other side, and it just happens to work out that way, which is amazing. So put those 2 in, whoops, slip stitch to join. Okay, so I'm just going to bring the other piece in and measure it up. And you can see we're pretty much there. Alright, so we're going to keep the green in this next round. And all we're going to do is a row of double crochet, but no increasing. So we want to start getting the curve. So, still not counting the chain as a stitch, so I've just gone back in the same stitch where we slip stitch to do the first double crochet, and just 1 all the way around. Pretty easy. So that'll hopefully get us a bit of a curve around for the shell. And I'll meet you back at the other end. Okay, so that round has added a bit of a curve. You just sort of got to flick it out. And that'll add a bit of height to the shell. So now we're going to bring our other piece in. Now, you want the good side to be on the bottom, because the bad side is getting covered. And we're going to join them. And we are going to leave a little gap so that the little turtles can fit through to be stored. So I just go like from that to that, you know, one of these gaps. So wherever you start, well, that's where the yarn is, so that's where we're starting, and we're going to slip stitch it all the way around. But so if we're starting here and go around this way, we are stopping over here at the same point actually, so that's a good size hole, and the tail's going to sit over there as well, and then you'll be able to button it closed. So yeah, just slip stitching, keep the green, and I probably should have fastened this brown off by now. So actually what you want to do is fasten off the brown and make sure you've woven it in a little bit so it doesn't come loose up the top. So I'll quickly do that and then get back to slip stitching. Okay, so I've just sewn that in. So we want the 2 inside pieces facing each other, so the 2 good sides on the out. Alright, and what we're going to do So you can do any sort of slip stitch you want to do. I'll chain one just to get it up a bit, but I like to do the sort of center one so it lands in the center. So what you want to do is grab the inside loop from the bottom piece, keeping this yarn underneath, right? You want to grab the inside loop of the top piece and just slip stitch them through like that. Okay, so this has to stay under when you're grabbing it, so you don't want to grab your stitch while the yarn is on top. It has to be underneath. So if it makes it easier, put your yarn down, grab your 2 loops that you need to grab, and then get your yarn back up and slip stitch. So hopefully you can see that there. Okay, so we're going to drop that, grab an inside loop, an inside loop, and slip. Inside, inside, and slip stitch. Okay. Now, I'm looking at it thinking there's this brown bit here, so I don't like it that way. So I'm pulling that back out, and let's see if I turn it this way, if that solves that problem. So I'm just turning it to go the other direction. So we're going to pick up inside loop, inside, slip, okay, yes, that looks much better. So the green stays on the green side, the brown stays on the brown side. Okay, so make your way all the way around until you are back at this point and stop there to leave the gap. Okay, so I've just slip stitched all the way around and ended, so there is a hole for the babies, just fastened off. And now we're going to just start the flippers. Here's one I've prepared earlier. Very easy, just a circle of 3 rounds, fold it in half and slip stitch together. Can't get more easy than that, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this one. Okay, so I'm going to start with a magic ring. Another chain, so I'm just doing double crochet 10 into the ring. Pull the tail closed, slip stitch to the first one to join, okay, chain 2, which does not count as a stitch, so I'm just now going to put an increase in every stitch, so 2 double crochets in every stitch. After that round, slip stitch to join as usual. Then I'm going to be putting an increase in every second stitch for the 3rd round. So 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Easy as that. If you are using a smaller hook and smaller yarn, you might need more rounds. But I'm just, yeah, I only need 3 rounds to get the size that I want. and I'll see you back at the end. Okay, so I've just finished the 3 rounds of a circle, starting with the 10 double crochets in the middle. And we're going to fold it in half, and I've sewn my tail in as I went, so we'll just tuck that in, hide it in there. And that was a bit of a knot in the yarn, so that's getting hidden in there as well. So just fold it in half. I'm going to chain one first just to help maneuver it. Tuck everything in, and I'm going to use the same slip stitch as I did for the turtle. So we're going to find the middle loops, keeping the yarn under, and slip. So you go over the yarn, find the middle loop, inside loop, slip, inside, yarn is under, slip. Like so. This just makes the seam sit in the middle, not off to any edge, off to the side. It just sits nicely in the middle there. Okay, so just do that to close it. Of course you can sew it if you wanted to, but I just find this easier than sewing. And then leave a long tail at the end so you can sew it onto the body. And obviously make 4, and then we'll be back to start the head. Okay, now we are going to start the turtle head with a magic ring, and this will all be in single crochet so that when we stuff it there won't be any holes. We're going to start with 6 into the ring, single crochet, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, normal circle pattern. We're going to increase in every stitch. So find that first one, and we're working in a spiral, so you might want to use a stitch marker if you get distracted. And I'm going to sew in the tail as well in this first round, so I don't have to worry about that later. Give it a good tug before you continue on, make sure there is no holes. Okay, and then give it a little tug every now and then. So that's the 1. Back in the same stitch, 2, increase in the next, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12. Okay. Some yarn happening. All right, next round, leave the tail. I like to use that as my marker point as well, instead of using a marker, just because it's only a few rounds. We're doing increase in the first, then 1 in the next. So you'll have 18 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 is increase, 15 is on its own, 16, 17 is increase, 18 on its own. Then we're back to the marker. Next row, same thing, so 2 in the next one, then 1 and 1. 2, 1 and 1. So I like to just go around and count to 4 each time. So I go 1, 2 in the same stitch, then 3, 4 on their own. So 1, 2, increase, 3, 4 on their own. 1 and 2 is the increase, 3, 4 on their own. One, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think one more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, in line with the marker. Okay, so the next round, probably guessed it by now. 2 in the next one, then 3 on their own. 3, 4, 5. That's how I count in my head to keep track of where I am. So 1 and 2 are always the increase. 1, 2, and then 3, 4, and 5 are on their own. So 1, 2 is the increase. 3, 4, 5 on their own. I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so back at the marker there, or your stitch marker if you're using one. So now I think that's big enough for the head, so I'm just going to go ahead and do a few rows of no increasing, just 1 in every stitch, to get the depth of the head before we start coming in to do the neck. So just make it as big as you want. I'll go ahead and do that and then let you know at the end how many stitches I did. Okay, so sorry, not how many stitches, how many rows I did from here. And also I'll be back in a sec once I finish that. Okay, so I'm happy with that size of the head so far, and I've done 7 extra rows, so 7 rows from when we stopped increasing. Okay, so now we're going to just start decreasing in the same way we increased. So we finished off on increase 3 in a row, so we're going to start here with decrease 3 and then 3 in a row. So start here with your decrease. Oh, and definitely use a stitch marker for now, because my tail's gone way too far down to try and keep track of where I am, so I'm going to run and get a stitch marker. Okay, so I'm going to do an invisible decrease, which is pick up the 2 front loops of the next 2 stitches. So front loop, then pull through 2, so back through those 2 front loops, and then pull through the 2 loops on your hook. And that's where you want to put your marker in, that stitch just made. Okay, so now we're just going to do 3 in a row. 1, 2, 3, then decrease. So picking up the front loop and the next front loop, pulling through 2, pulling through 2. I want to find where that next stitch is, so that next available stitch. If it looks a bit like it's not free, it's got something in there, that's the one you've just decreased. So over here, 1, 2, 3, front loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. 1, 2, 3. Picking up front loop only, front loop only, pull through 2, pull through 2. 3 in a row. Okay, I'll meet you back at the other end. Okay, so I'm back at the marker. Now, if you're using safety eyes, you want to probably put them in now before the hole gets too small. So I just kind of go by eye. I've put the stitch markers on the bottom. Doesn't really matter, but that's my way of doing it. So I'm going to find the sides of the head, and I'm just using some brown safety eyes, and they kind of go on the side a bit with the turtle, so I'm just going to eyeball it, maybe there, and the other one. I think it needs to go back a bit, sort of on the side of the head. That looks all right, like that. So I'm not too fussy, just, yeah, by eye. Okay, so I'm going to flip it out just so I can get better access. And because I like to be sure, I stick a little bit of super glue on the cap. Get your little plastic caps, because sometimes these slip off. So I'll just put it in the rim there. Can't see. I probably should have put a tissue down instead of wreck my table. Okay, just a little bit. Squeeze it on. That feels like a nice tight one anyway. Go tissue down for the next one, just in case. Bit of glue. Go. Now more sticky. Alright, flip it back around. So we're on to our next decrease row. So take the marker out. So this round we're going to do decrease and then 2 on their own. So after that first decrease, put the marker in before you forget and regret it. There we go. And now 2 in a row. 1, 2. And decrease. 1 and 2, and I'll see you at the end. Okay, we're back at the end. Next row, start with your decrease, put the marker back in, and then it's just 1. So decrease and 1 on its own. Decrease, 1 on its own. Decrease, 1. Decrease, 1. And last one. Decrease, 1. Okay, now the hole's getting very small. So this is as small as we want to go, because now we're just going to continue on with the neck. We want to stuff it at this point. So grab your stuffing, some hobby fill, stuff it in there. Don't want it bursting, because you just want to you're going to grow the neck and then stuff it as you go for the neck. Okay, so now no more decreasing, just go around. I don't even put the marker in, however many rows you want to make the neck as long as you want. But yeah, stuff it from here, make the neck, keep stuffing the neck, and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so I've got about that much. So it's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows-ish. And if you sort of, there's my body, put it up against the body, it looks all right like that. Okay, so I'm just going to stuff the neck. Actually, I'll fasten off first. Just slip stitch in the next one. Chain 1 to pull through a decent sized tail for sewing. Add a bit more fluff. So, want a bit more in the neck. Okay. There we go. So we find, get the legs out of the way. That's the bottom. Oops. Spin it round, find the top. And the sewing's the worst part, because you've got to get everything even. So you can either sew it on and keep the neck round like that and just go around the outside there, or you could pinch the neck and just sew it onto that green part there. That'll be easier. But it's up to you which way you want to do it. Can you see that there? So you can either, yeah, just keep it round, so the fluff will hold it out, or and sew it on around like that, so it goes over the brown, halfway between the green and the brown. Yeah, or just pinch it and sew it flat, which I think I might do that version. So get your darning needle. Find that middle. pinch it. So because I'm doing it flat, I'm just going to sew this closed to one end. Just so I can start at one end. Like that. Eyes are on the top. Center is about there. And once you get the first one in, you're okay. So that'll be my stitch there. Okay, so now I can sort of flip it round and just sew along there. Just picking up a couple of loops of the body. Both loops on this side, so everything's sealed shut. So up to that one. Both loops of the head. Like that. I'll just sort of finish off down here. Little French knot, wrap it around. And then I'm just gonna weave that into the head so it gets lost in all the fluff. So you just poke it anywhere, pull it through, go back in the same hole, go somewhere else. So don't split the fibres while you're doing that, just through the actual hole. And opposite side, end on the bottom. There we go. And then just chop that right down. Give it a squish and it's gone. There we go. And I will be putting on a little mouth, probably some nostrils, with some black thread a little bit later. And while you're at it, you could probably sew on your flippers. So the head's there. Just line them up. So I put the folded side on the top, but I don't think it would matter which way you go. Either way looks good. Yeah. That light side looks good too. So yeah, just line them up. Where you think. And just a few stitches on the body on each side, just so they're nice and secure. Just a few stitches. I kind of do that. So maybe three or so stitches along the flipper and the body to join. Easy. Okay. And then we shall start the babies. Okay, so here's my little guy so far with his leggies on, flippers I should say, and his head. Haven't got the face on yet, just eyes. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to just attach a little tail at the bottom here, just to stick out, a little bit of a triangle. No, nothing too difficult. If I planned ahead, I could have put it on this row before I finished, but I didn't think that far ahead. So I'm just sort of, I'll probably use about 4 stitches worth. So I'm going to start, so I've centered 4 stitches and slip into the first one. and chain 3. So chain 3 and then sew in the tail as I go. I'm going to do treble 4 together. So I'm starting the first treble where I've chained, so back in that same stitch. So pull through 2, pull through 2, leave 2 on the hook, yarn over twice, go to the next stitch, pull through 2, pull through 2, see that there, leave the last one on the hook, yarn over twice, third stitch, pull through 2, and one more in the next stitch, pull through 2, then pull through everything and chain 1 and fasten off. Easy as that. And just sew them in, and sew that one in, and sew that one in. That's already sewn in mostly, but you might want to do it a little bit more back that way, just to be sure. And there's a little tail, and I have just found a button, so this is to close the hole, and I'm using the double crochet stitches as the buttonhole, so find one that's going to fit your double crochet stitches, and you're just going to sew it on to the center there. So find a spot and just sew that on there so that it can be closed. Okay, so that's all sewn in, button is on, and you can just feed it through any one of these slots. Beautiful. Now the babies are ready to go in. So let's get started on those. With the babies, you want to use all your coloured scrap yarn. So find a whole bunch of different colours that you've got. You only need a tiny bit. So collect some colours and we'll get started. Okay, so here is the little baby turtle that we're going to be making now. So I've got the green for this one. But yeah, just grab whatever scraps you've got in the cupboard, and yeah, do as many colours as you can, because the more turtles you have, the more the game will go on for. So because I was using 10 ply for the rest of the turtle and my scraps are 8 ply, I am doubling the strands, so I'm going to use 2 strands of the green to start off with. So it will be a little bit thick, and I'm making a few little changes as I go to the normal flow, but you know, use what you've got, and you can adjust your changes as you go. Alright, so let's get started. So we're going to start obviously with the green, and then the bottom of the turtle is separate to the green part. So we finish the brown and then do the green shell. So all these sections here are worked in the last row of the brown. The tail, all the feet, and the head. Alright. So with the green, it's just 1 row of single crochet. So magic ring. And 6 single crochet into the ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is going to be very chunky. Slip stitching to the first one to close it off. Okay, we need the brown, so just 1 strand of the brown. So I'm going to be sewing in the tails as I go. and I will be making one slight adjustment at the end. Okay, so I'm going to start actually in the slip stitch. So I'll be using the slip stitch as well, just because the gap is quite big from here to here. So from first stitch to last stitch, and it just looked weird. But you know, if you're doing it properly with one strand and one round, you won't need to do that. But yeah, because it's so chunky and I'm breaking the rules, so you do what you need to do. And yes, I'll be working into the slip stitch. Otherwise you would be working into just all your normal stitches, so 6, but I'll be working into 7 stitches, even though we have only 6. All right, so I've just slipped it through and chain 1, and I'm just starting with the increase and putting all those loops over the top so I can sew them in. It's going to be quite chunky, so we're just increasing in every stitch, 2 single crochets in every stitch. Just keep pulling them. I'm only doing it for a few stitches and then I'll let them go. Okay, so I'm going to give them all a good tug, all these strands, make sure they're not gathered inside, and then let them go. So I've done 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 and 14. So normally you would have 12 stitches, but as I said, I've worked into the slip stitch, so I've got 14. Okay, so I'm going straight into the next round without joining. I'm just going straight in and starting increase in the next stitch. Again, if you want to use a marker, go for it. I'm living on the edge, so I've done 2 in the first one, 1 in the next, 2, then 1. Standard circle pattern. Ugh, yarn. Okay, 2, then 1. Increase, 1. Increase, 1. Increase, 1. Increase, 1. Okay, so normally you would have 18 stitches, but I've got more because, yes, you know why. All right, now the next round, so this is the final round, and what we're going to do, every time you do a body part, I want you to work in the front loop only. The rest are fine to work in both loops. So we're starting with the tail, so I'm actually slip stitching into the next stitch, if I can get in there. Okay, so slip stitch there, so front loop only, slip stitch into the front loop, chain 3, and slip stitch into the 3rd chain down, so it's a picot. Okay, so slip stitch into that bottom chain like that. Okay, then we're going to single crochet 3 in a row. Now if you have less stitches, you've got the normal amount of stitches, do 2 in a row. So I've just done 3 because I've got extra. Now we are going to do another body part, another little leg. So we're going to slip stitch into the front loop only. And our legs consist of chain 2, a double crochet, a chain 2, and slip stitch back into that front loop. So they're the legs. Chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, all in the same front loop. So now I'm going to put three single crochets in a row, and we're going to make another foot. Front loop only, slip stitch, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, slip stitch. Okay, then 2 in a row as we're coming close to the head. So you want to make sure that your tail and your head are opposite each other. So adjust your stitches if you need to. And yeah, front loop only, just slip stitch into there. So for the head, it's going to be a popcorn consisting of 4 double crochets. So chain 2 and 4 double crochets into the front loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a popcorn. You want to take your hook out, pull your loop out a little bit, go into the first double crochet, and you're coming in from behind so that the popcorn folds in, because this is the bottom of our turtle, that'll be the top, and you'll see this part as the head. So we want that fold to be on the bottom. Then you're going to chain 2 and slip stitch back into the front loop down the bottom. Okay, so then we're going to put 2 single crochets in a row, slip stitch into the next front loop, and start another foot. Chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, slip stitch. Okay, then 3 in a row, or 2 if you have less stitches. Slip stitch into the front loop, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, front loop. And then we've got 2, and then slip stitch into the third. Fasten that off, so chain 1 and pull it through. Okay, now we can start the shell. So to do the turtle shell, it's super easy. We're just doing a circle of 3 rounds, and then of increasing, and then a round of no increasing. So super easy. Just 1 change at the end for the last round. So everything's in single crochet apart from the last round. So start with your 6 in the center, into the magic ring, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I like to sew in my tail as I go, so second round all increasing, tail over the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Give it a tug, and I'm dropping it. That'll act as my marker as well. Okay, next round, increase and 1. increase, 1 in the next, increase in the next, 1 in the next, increase, 1. So this round will give you 18 stitches. One more, increase, 1. Okay, then the next round is just increase, then 2 in a row. Increase, 1 and 2. So in my head I like to count 1, 2 is the increase, 3, 4 are on their own. 1, 2, increase, 3, 4 on their own. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, back to the marker. So the next round is no increasing, but we are changing to half double crochet in every stitch. So next stitch, half double crochet, 1 in every stitch all the way around. Meet you back at the end. Okay, so that's just given it that slight curve. And to finish off there, I'm going to single crochet in the front loop of the next stitch and slip stitch in the front loop of the next stitch. Okay, chain 1. Now this is where we are going to join the 2 pieces. So ordinarily you would want to face this way and just go around and join, but that makes a big brown line through it. So I'm gonna just turn my work around and go in this direction instead. But yes, you can absolutely join them however you want. I am just slip stitching them closed, but feel free to cut off a long tail and sew them together. So I'm going in the back loop of the body. So I'm working at tail end, and the third loop of the half double crochet. So to find that, you want to look at, there's the front, I'll try and get closer if the camera doesn't defocus. So there's a front loop, a back loop, and a third loop. And of course I'm facing the wrong way for you, so let's turn it around the right way. So if you've just done the stitches, there's your front loop, your back loop, and round the corner there's a third loop, and that's the one we're working in. Okay, so put that back together. Let's find the tail end there, and then turn your work this way. Okay, so we're gonna go, and you really want to try and get all those stitches. So where that yarn's coming out of, I'm going to use that to start with, just right at the back loop there. It's a bit fiddly to get it going. Okay, and then third loop, which is very hard to find sometimes, especially on the first one, and then just slip stitch it through. Okay, next one in here, find the third loop of the next stitch, slip stitch. Now the ones where we did all the body parts, you should have that front loop available down the bottom. You just got to scoop it out. Oh, sorry, the back loop, whatever it was, the other loop. Ugh, there we go. Put everything back together. Find the next third loop there. Slip. So we're using inside loop of the body and third loop of the shell. Just making sure that's untucked. So just making your way around. Can be a little fiddly. Again, I'm at a limb. Head. No, it's a body part. That's a limb. Little foot. Find that available loop at the back. And the ones right next to the limbs are quite tricky to get to. And yeah, don't worry at the end if they don't all match up. Just fudge it till it works. It still comes out the right shape. Now we're going to make sure we don't go all the way because we have to stuff it. Oh, that one's it. I'll get it again. Okay, got it. Alright, so I'm just going to leave that hole there. Shove everything in and get some hobby fill to stuff the shell. Doesn't have to be too solid, just to get this shape. Otherwise you'll have trouble closing it. There we go, that should be plenty. Okay, just keep it out of the way while you're trying to close off the rest. So just keep your fingers stuffing it in there. All right. So if you're running out of stitches on one side, double them up or skip over. It'll all close up, so don't stress too much if they don't add up. And at the end, you'll probably struggle to find that last loop. So just pick up a couple of loops there. Just picking up anywhere there. Oh, that's a bit big. Let me shrink that down. And you're gonna just sort of slip stitch into this green bit, the end of the shell. There we go. Fasten off. Go, and you're going to sew that tail in. So when I sew it in, I kind of put it straight in there so it sucks in that bit of a bump there and straight through the body. I'll get my needle and we'll do that. Okay, so just as close to that bump as possible, straight through to the other end. And give it a bit of a pull so it just flattens out there. And then I'm just going through different sections so that the tail gets lost in the hobby fill. Just different directions. And that's it. And that's your little guy. All done. So go and do as many colours as you need. And then they all go in Big Mama. Unbutton her. Like that. All done. Actually, I've got to embroider on a face yet. But we can do that. 2 lines. Pretty easy. Make a mouth. Have fun!